it's Lisa from My Dreaming Soap. Welcome to my channel. Now today I thought I'd do something a little bit fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go right back to the YouTube video that I watched one day when I was just, as you do, browsing through YouTube. And it was the first ever soap making video that I made. Now it wasn't made by a soap maker as such, because at that point I didn't really know about cold processed soap. I'll link to the video below. It's from Sophia Ingard. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her name. Now, it's probably a video you've seen. When I checked this morning, it had 14 million views on it. So you may have seen this video already, but I will link it below. And it was her trying what she called a soap art tutorial out. And this was basically a hanger swirl technique that was done by Soap Queen, so Brambleberry. Now, I've not seen the Brambleberry original video. I've just seen Sophia's video. And as I said, it was a video that I saw and I thought, that looks like fun. And started to investigate and research the whole cold process soap thing and started having a go. And that's where basically I Dreaming Soap came from. So I thought it'd be really fun to revisit that video and make the same soap. Now, mine can't be absolutely identical. I don't have any supplies from Brambleberry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do it as similar as I can, just for a little bit of fun. But as I said, there will be some slight differences. So I'm going to use micas that look like they're quite similar to what was in the original video. So what am I going to be using? I am going to be using, for my first layer on the bottom, Royal Blue from Mineral Makeup Ingredients. And then they use some titanium dioxide. In the next layer up, they had it wasn't really quite as much of a sort of an aqua blue as this, but this is one of my favourite colours, so I'm going to use this one anyway, and it's Turquoise Delight from Pure Rock Colours. They then did another layer, or she then did another layer of titanium dioxide, finishing off with a yellow on the top, which I'm going to be using Sunshine Yellow from Mica Mama. So these are my colours I'm going to be using. Fragrance, again, I don't have the same fragrance that they used in the original video. So I'm going to use Avocado Bubble. So basically this is an Ava Bath dupe. So I thought that would go quite nicely because I've got some yellow in this soap. And this will be a good fragrance, I think, as well, because it does accelerate a little bit, but not badly at all. Okay, so those are all the supplies I'm going to use. So let's start making this, shall we? The first thing I'm going to do is pre-disperse my mica colorants. My TD, as normal, is already pre-dispersed, but I'm just going to add a tiny bit of oil just from my batch into these to disperse them. And this is going to be split into 4 even parts. Now, colorant wise, I always tend to use my mica colours at 0.6% of my oil. So obviously the oil that I'm using in this particular section. The differences to that are things like yellows. Yellows tend to fade a little bit in cold processed soap, especially if you C-pop them. If you want a yellow to say good and true, it's best not to put it through gel. Okay, but obviously if you've got a soap with lots of colours in, you potentially want all the others to be bright and vibrant, so you might choose to put yours through gel. So I tend to up my usage of mica for yellow just a little bit, and I tend to use that at about 1% of my oils, just so it doesn't fade out too much. Now I've just used the oils from my batch just because don't really want to add any extra oil in. It's up to you. You could use your oils from your batch, or you can use an extra lightweight liquid oil, something like olive oil or something. And all that will happen if you do that is it will increase your superfat a little bit. Right, so let's get this whole batch mixed up. I've got my lye solution and my sodium lactate in here. I haven't bothered going through and doing all the measuring out and the weighing out of the oils and all of that sort of stuff. just because I master batch all my oils, so mine are weighed out anyway. And as normal, I am sticking to my own recipe. I'm not using the recipe in the video, just because this is the recipe I have certified for me to use and sell with my soap, so I can't just swap it and use a different recipe. Okay, so I'm going to have to split this out into 4 bits. So what I'm going to do now is weigh that amount. Okay, so that came to 1387. That's the amount excluding my jug. So if I divide that up by 4, I know I have to pour out 346 grams for each of my colours. And it's good to do that now before you've started blending stuff up, so then there'll be less to do and it'll stop you worrying about too much acceleration. Right, let's get this blended. Now I'm going to do the whole lot together in one go, but I want to make sure I blend it quite gently. Okay, so I'm blending that, and I'm going to make sure that I'm at an emulsion. Sorry about the dog yakking next door. I'm not going to worry about taking it through to trace, because we've still got to do all our colours and get those mixed in and add our fragrance. And then we want some of this sitting around while we pour some of the other layers. So I'm going to do it just so it's how they did it sort of in the video. Okay, so I'm just going to get this measured out. I wanted, what was it, 346 grams in each one. So I'm just going to divide it into my 4 amounts. Okay, so there's those divided up. Now I just want to mix my colours in. So it's got that sunshine yellow. It's a lovely yellow from Mica Mama in the UK. Titanium dioxide. Royal blue. And turquoise delight. Let's get those mixed in. So those are all my colours ready. Now, in the video, they did save a little bit of the turquoise for the top. So I'm just going to take off a little bit. Now the turquoise, my turquoise delight, is a mica that does accelerate. So this may get a little bit thick on me. It's the 3rd thing that goes into this soap, but hopefully it'll be okay. Now for my mould, I'm just using my standard sort of loaf mould, you know, your standard 7 centimetre wide loaf mould. It's basically the same sort of dimensions as those Amazon moulds that you get. Right, so let's get this first layer done. I'm going to add my fragrance oil as I do the layers, mainly just because of this turquoise. I don't want it to get all thick and horrible. Okay, so let's get the blue, let's get that nicely stirred in. Okay, I'm just starting to get a trace on that now. So let's get that into the mould. And I'm going to completely scrape this jug out, just because in the original tutorial they scraped everything out, and the only sort of addition they did to the top was a little bit of the turquoise, whereas we know quite often what we would do is just leave these jugs with a little bit in them, and you can use those scrapings for the top. Okay, let's give that a little shake. A little bang down. Good. So the next layer was the titanium dioxide. Now I think for a beginner soap, for something to attempt first of all, this is actually really quite a tricky thing to do, because you're trying to do layers all in one go. And she's going to do a hanger swirl, but obviously we've got to try and make sure we get this white on top without it breaking through the layer, and that can be a little bit tricky. So I want to divide my white in two. Now in the video they actually spooned it on top of this first layer. I actually don't have any, well, not spoons at a decent size, so I'm just going to try using my spatula to break the fall and spread it out. Let's do our next layer, which is now this turquoise delight. Okay, so again I'm just trying very carefully just to lay this gently on top rather than have it break through. I do think, as I said, for the first time you ever did a soap, this is actually really quite a challenging soap to do. I think in the video Sophia ended up with a trace that was really quite thick, so she didn't worry too much about things breaking through, but then it obviously gave her limitations with things like having some holes in her soap and the swirl maybe not coming out quite so good. Okay, so there's our turquoise layer. So we've now got to go on and do that second TD layer, so a little bit of fragrance in there. Okay, so that's been going quite well. I've got some reasonably flattish layers. I mean, it's not going to win a straight lines competition or anything, but then you wouldn't make a straight line soap in this way. But this is going to be fine because it's going to be hanger swirled anyway. So my last layer I've got is my lovely Sunshine Yellow from Mica Mama. Pop the rest of my fragrance in there. Now, I've done all right with my trace here with this soap. I think if I'd have put all my fragrance in right at the start, I would have struggled. This would have been too thick by then, because this fragrance does accelerate a little bit. but it's quite good for what I've needed. Okay, so that's got my top pretty flattish, not super flat. Right, then the last thing that they did was took some of the turquoise. I may have a bit too much here, I might not put this all on, there's quite a big dollop I saved here. Okay, I don't really want any more than that. I just poured that on the top and then just swirled it, sort of like Taiwan swirl style. Oh no! I haven't done my hanger swirl! Holy cannoli! Ah! What a dumbo! Ah, seriously. Right. Ah! Right, so we might have some weird... Ah! What a twit. I bet you were shouting, weren't you? Were you shouting, going, you haven't done your hanger swirl? Oh, goodness me! Right, okay. Hanger swirl. Okay, so this wasn't actually a swirl, this was just like an up and down hanger. So it went down along the bottom a little bit and then up, but not right out, along and then down. Mine's really thickening up at the bottom there. Cool. Along at the bottom and then up, along, down, and then out at the top. I was just trying to preserve that top as much as possible, but I'm going to have to swirl that again. Never mind. What a dimmy, eh? Okay, so I think that will do. I can't believe I forgot the hanger swirl, and it was really thick in there, so it will be interesting to see how much of that has actually dragged through with that one. Right, so I am going to put this away for the night, and then we'll come through and we will cut that tomorrow and see what we've got. Here we are with our nearly not a hanger swirl soap the next day. Goodness me, let's have a look at what we've got inside. Now, when I did actually get round to eventually remembering to swirl this, it had actually got really quite thick, and I really struggled to get through that blue layer at the bottom. So it'll be interesting to see how well that swirl has actually come out. So let's have a look. I actually quite like my design on the top, where I had to re-swirl. Remember when I got to about here and I realised I hadn't done the hanger swirl. So I quite like that the sort of little double swirl that I've got on the top. Right. Let's have a look. Ah, there we go. So that's come out all right, hasn't it? So there we are, that's sort of in homage to the first ever sort of soap making video that I ever saw. Not the greatest soap in the world, I must admit, and certainly didn't help with me with my lapse of concentration in the middle there. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little fun video. I enjoyed making this soap, and it was nice to go back and have a look at that video once again. And it was a really enjoyable video, so I would go and have a look at it. If you like soap making videos and you haven't seen it before, it is a good fun video to go and have a watch. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. I do hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, why not give me a thumbs up? And if you'd like to see what I'm making in the future, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Thanks for watching and happy soaping.